big mound, currently what we're working with. So my whole life essentially built around a garage. Wasn't structurally sound. I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. So I've given him 600 quid of me money. Honestly, I don't know how all this sort of came together, but it couldn't have gone any better. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're starting this video outside, and that is for one important reason, and it's something that you've all sort of been waiting for. I've sort of teased little bits and bobs, but we're all here for one reason, and that is for the garage build. So I just want to say a few facts first. It is a 6 metre by 12 metre garage. It's a single skin block with a steel frame inside, and then your insulated panel roofing, which obviously attaches to your steel frame. Let's just explain how I got to this point, all the preparations, all the planning permission, the building regulations, everything. So let's go inside and have a chat about that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm going to be waffling for quite a bit now. Just be aware, but I will only reveal the garage to you at the end of this video. So if you want to listen to all this spiel about how I ended up where I am, how I managed to build such a big thing, let me know what you think about the garage build below. And yeah, if you have any questions whatsoever, put them down below. I'll be more than happy to answer any of them. And yeah, I just hope you enjoy the video basically. I don't like talking too much about bits and bobs. I know you all just want to see it, so I put it at the end so you can all have a nosy at it. And yeah, I just want to say I am more shocked than any of you seeing this for the first time, okay? So the first step, put my brew down. The first step for me was actually buying a house which had the land available to build a big garage on. Now, I have grown up with parents having a big garage, with my parents' friends having a big garage. I have always wanted quite a large garage, you know, bigger than double is what I was sort of aiming for, and that would be like peak life right there. So firstly was trying to find a house that had the land on it to build. Obviously it has to be a freehold for you to be able to build on your land. I needed the space on the driveway to get cars up. I needed the space in the garden to actually house some sort of a building. And then also I had to consider overlookers around me as well, like other houses, which way their windows are looking, and then you've got to research where the sun rises and sets as well, because you don't want to put a garage where it'll completely shadow your whole garden. So that's where it all started. So my whole life essentially is built around a garage. That was the main thing for me, was to be able to have somewhere where I can build on the land. So I found my little bungalow. Now, thankfully for me, when I moved in, I'm a semi-detached. So the person who lived next door got moved by his son. His son moved in closer to him to look after him. So that meant that next door was vacant. It was empty, and it was empty for quite a while, for about a year actually. So within that year, I thought, you know what? I can get planning permission sorted, and then planning permission, that lasts for 3 years. So once you've got that accepted, amazing. Bob's your uncle. You can do what you want. You can chill out for 3 years, you can save up, you can do what you want, because I had no intentions of getting that planning permission and starting immediately, because I've just bought a house on my own. I have a mortgage on my own. I only have one income to do gas, electric. The whole house needed bloody rewiring, replumbing. I decided I wanted to turn the house upside down, so I've even turned all the house the wrong way around. I mean, I'm 3 years into this now, and I'm still not finished with the damn house, but I'm near enough there with the garage, so I might as well just move in here. Planning permission. I just researched online, found a woman, an architect, who would take me through the whole process of coming round, taking measurements, you know, what do I want in a garage? Do I want windows, doors, double, positioning in the garden, all sorts of different stuff. Materials, do you want a double skin? Do you want a single skin? Do you want block? Do you want steel frame? Do you want, you know, all sorts of stuff. Even concrete, do you want a concrete garage? All sorts of different stuff. And then she goes away, draws up your little garage, and yeah, originally, I think I have some pictures, the garage did not look like this whatsoever. The garage I was going to put in a completely different area of the garden until the architect came round and said, yeah, no, can't be done. Your neighbour's windows overlook that garage and you'll be blocking their freedom of light or whatever it is. There's some sort of law for light and windows, and that would have interfered with that quite greatly. And at the time, I didn't really know my neighbours that well to go around and, you know, ask. But yeah, so originally it was in a different area of the garden, so then that was moved. It was a completely different shape at the start, because once I'd moved it to a different end of the garden, it's a funny little shape, my garden. It sort of triangulates off. It's not a 90 degree, it's not a square, it's like a triangle. So that's why this design looks so strange to people probably. And then because of that shape, I wanted a flat roof, because God knows how you'd build an apex on a non-rectangle garage. And then we sort of went back to the drawing board again, and then decided to just basically plonk a rectangle, and I can deal with whatever space I have in the triangle section at the back another day. So we went with that, we designed it. This whole process actually started in July of 2023. I think I bought the house in 2022. I think it was like September time potentially. So I was pretty quick to try and get that planning permission in and sorted, because there was no one that was going to ruin my plans for this. I've just bought a house and I have to build a garage on it, otherwise I've bought the house for nothing. With this architect, she actually drew up the final garage. Even the garage that was accepted planning permission wise through the council wasn't structurally sound. Now you're probably thinking, why would she even draw up something that wasn't structurally sound? Now, it probably would have been okay, but I wouldn't have wanted, it'd be in the back of my mind that it wasn't okay. She drew up a single skin wall with buttressing. Now buttressing is like a support for your block wall, which would then in turn hold your roof on top, is my understanding. But because I wanted a steel roof, it didn't make sense, like it wouldn't attach together. Now I didn't want any trusses, the A-frame things that go in your roof. I didn't want them, because we went from a flat roof to an apex roof, and then once I'd gone to an apex roof, I did not want trusses. I wanted all the height I could get, because I'd be able to get a lift. Now I've not got a lift yet, but that is in the plans. All the concrete has been supported and strengthened in the right place for a 2-post lift, so that's great. But with that issue where she's just sort of taken out the trusses in the drawing, when I've come to speak to a builder about it, they've gone, that ain't gonna work, because all you've got, this big apex roof sat on this poor little 1 block thick wall, which wouldn't have worked. So there's a first issue that I encountered. With the planning permission that was actually accepted, that was the second application that went in to the council, because initially they didn't like the first design. Now the reason why they didn't like the first design is because the architect drew up the walls at 2.7 metres tall. Now my bungalow's walls are only 2.5 metres tall, so that's why they didn't sort of like that. But also what I didn't realise, which I find quite funny, is they actually didn't like the idea of the garage because, let me read this out to you, there was health concerns regarding the amount of vehicles that would be in and around the property. That was the first reason as to why they didn't accept the planning permission to begin with. How mad's that? I thought that they just denied it, didn't like it because the walls were a bit too high. I mean, 2.5, 2.7, it's not that much different. So I thought, bit weird that. I didn't actually realise because I never looked. I was just speaking to my architect backwards and forwards, and I was trusting her because she went through the whole process with me. She put all the planning applications in, she drew up all the things, she spoke to all the council members. I didn't do nothing. I paid her to do it all, which is what I wanted because I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. So, with that, they were concerned about the amount of cars that would be on the property. And the answer to that was, well, when the garage is built, the cars would be inside of the garage. So that obviously doesn't make any sense. So that is my experience with the planning permission. Once you have your planning permission accepted, which mine was accepted in August, which initially when my architect actually told me the wait time, because this was after COVID, people are itching to get work done in the house, you know, they want extensions, they want porches, they want, you know, loads of stuff, they want, I don't know, carports. And at the time, I was told that the wait list would be about 6 months. But from July to August, planning permission was accepted. So now what? I had the issue of the fact that it was accepted so early that my time to build the garage was ticking immediately because it was accepted. So I was then panicking, internally panicking, because this is my whole life. I have to do this for me, and if I miss this opportunity, someone will move in next door and there ain't no way that I'm gonna apply for this planning permission again because they send letters to all of your neighbours. They had letters twice because they didn't like the fact the walls were 2.7 and not 2.5 metres. And I wouldn't have this garage now if I had to reapply the mortgage. I just know from what next door are like that they wouldn't want that. So I'm glad that all sort of happened and all fell into place. Another thing before I move on is because of the size of this garage, I had to inform building control that I was going to build this garage, essentially. So that means that any sort of bigger extensions, garages, sort of major builds all have to be built within the building regulations. So that means that you have to pay, not just for, you know, your planning permission and your architect and everything else, you have to pay for building control regulations, which means that someone comes at different stages of the build, take pictures of the different stages of the build, and yeah, basically says yay or nay to what your builds are doing, because they all have to build it within these regulations because it's such a major build to the area, to the grounds, to everything. So that was the last thing that I was going to say on the whole first step of this garage build, to which 3 years later down the line I actually completely forgot about, but we'll get to that in a minute. But now we're going to the build planning, because if you remember, if you go back, the original drawing was drawn up as a single skin block wall with buttressing. Now, the architect never changed this on the drawing was kept the same. So then when I went to builders and they asked for the drawing, they were getting a single skin wall with buttress and a steel roof, to which that's not what I want. So it was really confusing to try and get my point across to say this is actually what I want, or will this work the way that she has planned it, because I don't want trusses in the roof because I want all of the height that I can get for getting the cars in the air, even storage because I plan on putting a mezzanine at the front to store all the stuff, because the least stuff you have on the floor, the better. So much to plan and discuss, and what would work and what wouldn't work, because essentially I had to go through this planning all over again, but the only difference was I already had planning permission, so as long as it wasn't any bigger than what was agreed in the planning permission, I could build essentially whatever I wanted within reason, if that makes sense. So it could be single block, double block, really thick block, or slightly thinner block, or brick even. Brick was an option at the time, but brick is a lot more expensive than block, which is why I've gone for block. But yeah, there was so much to think about, even concrete type, how that's going to be supported. There was just so much stuff. You even had to consider the render, because the render's also like 1 inch, 2 inches thick on either side. So you have to even account for that, for the end product, for the end size of the building. So all this stuff had to be communicated to so many people. And I'm not going to lie, it was an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, my builder, Chris, oh my God, he was incredible with this whole build. But we're not quite there yet in talking about that. We're still talking about getting all the quotes and getting all that sorted. So there's so many people that I had to call to get my point across, get my plan across. And then obviously you send your drawings across, but your drawings aren't right. And yeah, it was absolutely just mayhem. I wasn't getting anywhere with it. It was really disheartening because I didn't want to go back and have to pay for another set of drawings because I've already got my drawings. So I was trying to save as much money as I could at the time. So I was speaking to a few people, and I can't remember who suggested a steel frame, like innard, because we needed a way to attach the steel roof onto the block. Now, there wasn't a safe way of doing that unless I had the trusses, whatever you want to call them, because otherwise this massive roof and the whole span is just, yeah, it was too long of a run to put that strain on the block, the single skin block wall. So that's when the steel frame came in, because originally, or normally, but this garage is far from normal, you'd build a steel frame garage with insulated steel panels for the sides and insulated steel roof. But then I thought, I don't really want it to feel like a tin box. So what can I do to make it feel more like a house, but still have my steel roof that I want insulated? And that's where it came up with the idea of a steel frame block to cover the outsides, and yeah, obviously my steel roof sheets. So that sort of got into motion then. I contacted a few steel frame companies. The company that I actually went with was kitbuildings.co.uk. Now there's a lot of these steel frame companies that all have the same name, but this specific one, I'll link it down below. I'll even link Chris, my builder, down below as well. So Chris is rosebraecontractors, and then the steel frame company, kitbuildings.co.uk. And I'll put them both down below, and they are such amazing people. They will help with any sort of style of building. Now, Chris works for Marcus, who's the steel frame company. So Chris builds Marcus's steel frames for people. And how amazing is that Rosebrae Contractors also do generalised building work as well. So honestly, I don't know how all this sort of came together, but it couldn't have gone any better, because I only had to speak to Marcus to sort out the steel frame, and then Marcus would liaise with Chris to make sure that everything's all in order for the roof sheets, for the block, because what you don't think about is that the steel frame has to be built a block's width inwards and a tiny bit more for clearance, because otherwise it's going to be a block too big on both sides, and then your garage is huge, and building control are not going to like that. So yeah, there was so much to think about, and thankfully they were just so smart. The communication between them was just incredible. They helped me so much with this build, and I'm not a builder by any means. I don't even know where to start, but they honestly did help me a lot with this build, and I am so thankful for that, because yeah, at the end of it, we've managed to build such a great little garage, and I'm just so grateful basically for all of their work, because if they couldn't help me, I'd still be stuck. I don't think I'd be in a garage now if I never spoke to Chris or Marcus, like, at all, because I would have had to have got a bricklayer to do the block, I would have had to have got a steel frame company to build the steel frame, I would have had to have got someone in to do the concrete floor, I would have had to have gotten so many different people in, and all those different people all have to communicate the same thing to each other to make sure that they all fit together when they all come together. I don't even want to think about it. Honestly, it used to panic me so bad that it just wouldn't all come together, but honestly, I'm just so grateful for them too. They are the main builders in this, and I wouldn't be here and being sat in this garage without them. So I can't thank them enough for all the hard work, everything. Yeah, they're absolutely incredible people, and they will do anything to help you. So I did do a grounds report. That all came back fine. Yeah, I think there was one spot which was a bit more wet than the others, but essentially it's as and when you build the areas of your foundations, that's when you know, and that's when building control come round and say, no, not good enough, or yeah, you're good to go. All the prep work was done, I had everything accepted, I had quotes ready from Marcus, from Chris, and essentially it was just waiting for the right time to start the build, and then also making sure I had enough funds, because we all know that buildings like this come with extra hidden costs that you don't realise until after the whole build. And also what doesn't help is the fact that I kept adding more bits to it, didn't I? As I went along, I was like, oh, let's do this, oh, let's do that, and then yeah, you stop thinking about the end product at the end of the day and how much deep you are into the cost. And then, yeah, but here we are anyway. So that was all the prep, all of the sort of quotes, building work. We're into sort of the building process. Oh, this brew is so cold. I'm gonna have to go on my brew up because this is not... Let's just pause for 1 minute. Now in these next clips, you'll probably see that we've gone back in time, and this was from the start of August, so this was from the start of the whole build process. Without further delay, let's just get back on with the video. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell by the wind, it's Storm Floris. I hope it sort of doesn't pick up on the mic. Now, this is the area of which it's going to be. I'll just sort of give you a tiny bit of an idea of how big this garage is going to be. So this is the back of the garage, right here. This is currently what we're working with. There's my big mound. What you'll find in these next sort of progress clips is that some I have talked over and others is just a walk around of what everything's looking like. So in some clips I'll be speaking, and in some clips it's just going to be a montage with a bit of music on in the background. know what possessed me to start this video by filming in one of my foundation holes. Not really sure what went through my head there, however, once they're filled, I will never be able to do this again. So, fingers crossed they're getting filled today and all is well, because I've had a bit of a mishap with building control this week. So I wasn't under the impression I had to do anything else with my application. So obviously I've got my planning permission, and I got my planning permission like 2.5 years ago. Obviously you get 3 years to build or start building whatever you've got planning permission for, and then it expires and you have to apply for planning permission again. So I got planning permission however long ago, and I wasn't under the impression that I had to apply for building regulation, but you do. So I did that the second day into the build, because all the builders were under the impression we're all sorted, we're good to go, all we need to do is ring them up and say, get your ass down here to have a look at the holes before we fill them. But silly old me didn't do that. So I've given them 600 quid of me money. Don't ask me why they wanted 600 quid. They just did. And I'm filming this at 6 AM. Maybe it's like 6:30 now. But anyway, this is the quietest time that I can film in the garden, because someone's doing work here. I have the builders in the day, and yeah. So I just wanted to have a chat about my foundation holes. Now these, you're probably thinking, Megan, they are huge. And you'd be right. Correct in saying they are huge. And they will be holding, uno momento, these. So at the bottom of the hole, or near enough the bottom of the hole, will be holding down bolts, whatever you want to call them. People say this is like a wax cone or a cardboard cone. And then my steel frame gets bolted to the top of here. So this gets removed, so more thread is showing, and then you bolt your steel frame onto this. So these are literally all ready to go in the holes. It's just building regulations now. So like I said before, I am hoping and praying they can pour these today, because we have a busy day on Monday when everything is arriving. Obviously I'll update that further on in the video, but apparently the steel frame is coming on Monday, the roof sheets are coming on Monday, the concrete's coming on Monday, what else is coming on Monday? The bullocks are coming on Monday. I've got like, I think it's 15 pallet, or maybe it's 13. I can't remember. I have got a lot of pallets of blocks. It's a full truck, apparently, of block, which is pretty insane. But yeah, I just thought I would add this little clip in here. Oh my God, coal. I shall get out of this hole now. Let's update you guys on what has happened here over the past few days.